Your Eminence, Archbishop Elpidiophoros, respected hierarchs, clergy, members, and guests. It was my honor as chairman to welcome His Eminence in person for the first time as our spiritual leader at our 29th annual conference in Palm Beach 2 years ago, pre-virus. So it's nice to see you all back here in Florida and hopefully healthy and maskless, so welcome. It is my honor to welcome His Eminence in person again as my last time as chairman here at our 31st annual conference. My welcome extends to all of you in attendance. We have entered the new year with confidence. Leadership 100 has prevailed over the last 2 challenging years, growing even stronger thanks to the faith and commitment of our members. We have chosen as our theme the celebration of the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America in 1922. In fact, His Eminence has honored us with initiating the celebration here at our conference, as well as honoring me to serve as chairman of the Centennial National Committee. Our conference speakers will address our historical heritage as members of the Archdiocese and the plans for our vital ministries, as well as other contemporary issues that affect all of us. Leadership 100 has played an essential role in both areas, enabling our Archdiocese to continue its historic legacy, as well as to meet the challenges of the day. The details of our program are in the conference brochure. We begin with 2 speakers from the Archdiocese. This morning, we open our conference with a presentation given by Theo Nicolakis. Thanks for being here, Theo. He serves as the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America as Chief Information Officer. Theo spearheads the technology leadership for the Archdiocese. A graduate of our beloved Holy Cross, Theo created the award-winning GoArch.org website, designed the online chapel, and enabled the first live internet webcast of Greek Orthodox Church services in the United States, and oversaw the digital communications and technology operations for 6 international events. He has many more accomplishments which you can all read about. And most recently, he implemented a major leadership grant to modernize the Archdiocese's technology infrastructure. It is my pleasure to present you Theo Nicolakis.
Good morning. Your Eminence, Archbishop Elpidiophoros, with your blessing, your grace, Bishop Athenagoras, and dear brothers and sisters in Christ, good morning. Christ is in our midst. I'm going to take you through a historical perspective of how you, as members of Leadership 100, have been integral in the digital transformation of the Archdiocese. The one thing that I will tell you is, as we look back through history, Your Eminence, I know we are doing a history of the Archdiocese, and I hope that one chapter is dedicated to Paulette Poulos, because without Paulette in this Archdiocese, I have never known an Archdiocese without Paulette. When I first met you with your dynamism with Archbishop Iakovos, the grace of your service, and what you have been able to do in your leadership, serving Leadership 100, cannot be underestimated. And I'm so humbled that you extended this invitation for me to be here. So thank you, Paulette. And if we can't get this going, then you'll just have to listen to me. Is that okay? All right. So if we look at the history of the Archdiocese, I want to take you back, if I may, to 1994, because something very special happened in 1994. Father Ted Barbas, who was at that time the youth director for the metropolis of Boston, Father Angelo Artemis, who was the national youth director for the Archdiocese, came to me and said, Theo, we'd like to do something a little different. We'd like to do something to digitally transform our youth and young adult ministries. Well, okay, Father Ted. And by the way, would you be willing to write a grant for us? okay, and we'd like to submit it to Leadership 100. And so that's what we did. And we submitted a grant for $8,000. And do you know what Leadership did? They didn't give us $8,000. They gave us 12, because somebody on the grant committee felt bad for us and said what they need is a little bit more. $12,000 in 1994. And what that did is that gave birth to a ministry called Orthodox Ministry Access, the vision of which was to digitally provide the entire archdiocese with ministry resources. That was the first digital transformation that ever took place thanks to you. All the articles that you see on the GoArch website, not all of them, but a good majority of them, had their catalyst with that grant in 1994. They served as the instrument for introducing hundreds of thousands of individuals to the Orthodox Christian faith and life. The other byproduct was a new thing called email. You brought email, good or bad, to the archdiocese through that grant at that time. The next thing that you did is you helped us launch goarch.org. That became the catalyst for the website of the archdiocese. And why that is important is because that was a challenge. What does it mean to have Orthodox Christianity online? We had to challenge ourselves to think through that. What's the interpretation of our faith, our liturgical life, our theology, and how is that presented online? That was the catalyst, and I think we must have done a pretty good job, because then everybody started to copy us. So there's no greater flattery. And then in 1996, just 2 years later, Orthodox Ministry Access officially became a department of the Archdiocese. It became the Department of Internet Ministries, all due to Leadership 100. And over the next 2 decades, that seed grant has had more fruits than you can imagine or that I can talk about. We have been the catalyst as an archdiocese empowering the digital ministries of the church. Today, we still host over 500 parishes and organizational websites through the archdiocese. The first website for Leadership 100, for the Ecumenical Patriarchate, for Philoptochos, for IOCC, for OCF, the Orthodox Christian Fellowship, our campus ministry, was all the result of internet ministries, of that Leadership 100 grant. All of that came through there. We host over 160 unique domains, and we run over 600 email listservs, delivering between 1.5 to 1.7 emails a month. It's scale. So now let me take you to 98. And I want to introduce you to an individual whose name I hope you will always remember, and that's Nicholas Maslov. Any Star Trek fans in the audience? All right, so the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many, right? You know what I'm talking about with Kirk and Spock. This is the needs of the one outweighing the needs of the many. So I was sitting in my office, the basement of the metropolis of Boston at the time, and I get a call from Father Peter Salmus. He says, Theo, I have an individual in my parish, Nicholas Maslov. He's an immigrant. He can't come to church anymore. He has to be moved into an assisted living facility. There's got to be some way that we can broadcast our church services online so that he can listen to them through a computer. Okay, Father Peter, let's see what we can do. So, do some research. I fly out to California, and it's a great example of where the digital empowers ministry. It became the first live broadcast of an Orthodox church because one priest wanted to serve one individual. And when we look at what's happened today, that was the catalyst. And so nobody gets an idea that it's easy. We're talking old school. Modems, running phone lines through the trellis. We're talking, we had to build the server, configure the software. We did it by rolling up our sleeves, all because the expertise was there because of your grant, your vision, your support. Now let's fast forward to 2002. where you gave another grant. And the grant was pretty simple. We really want to do something transformational with the Archdiocese website. And we want to build a couple of other tools and services that we think are going to be impactful to parishes and to parishioners. And so that's what we did. And what happened? Well, we just happened to win the Webby's People Award for the best spirituality website on the internet in 2003 when we launched it, thanks to leadership. We launched the online chapel, which displayed the daily scripture readings, the lives of the saints. And this isn't somebody who's sitting there in a room posting this stuff. We spent years developing algorithms and programming it so it's all automated, all calculated. Type in the date of Easter, boom, it'll give it to you, 2025, 2035, 2045, and it automatically configures itself. All that was done through your grant. We developed the online calendar of saints and feasts to give everybody a glance as to what's happening in the life of the church. We know this is the Synaxarion. This was a digital Synaxarion, and we automated it all in a database. And now it's multilingual, and it's servicing a whole host of other services. We made it downloadable to put on a computer, then a smartphone. And then you enabled us to do Bulletin Builder. Bulletin Builder was a very simple concept. We surveyed the parishes. We said, what are your pain points? Number one was the bulletin and registry. So we said, we can digitize this. So we custom built an application that leveraged what we had just done with the online chapel, and it automated the calculation of certain things that we know parishes include, like the gospel, the epistle reading, the hymns of the day, etc., etc. And in a matter of 10 to 15 minutes, a parish could build its bulletin. What used to take them 4 to 8 hours, they were getting done in minutes. And what we proved through follow-up surveys, thanks to your grant, is 25 to 33% of parishes today still use that application every single week to produce their bulletin. Every single week. We demonstrated that if a parish used bulletin builders, they cut 4 hours of office time, some 8. And what they did is they also increased their public mediums, their publishing, email, web, print. And they also included more archdiocesan and metropolis information. How often do you get a product that gives you more for less? And that's what your grant did. The other byproducts is we developed iconograms and electronic greeting card service. Over 540,000 cards have been sent. We use the online chapel engine to deploy the mobile app that you can download from the app stores onto your phone. We've had over 100,000 downloads of the Daily Readings app. And now we have an app as well for Android Fire and for the Apple TV, the GoArch app. All because of that. So now let's go and look at what your grant is doing today. What leadership is doing for the Archdiocese today is you are modernizing our capabilities. And I want to set the scene for you because where we are today is not where we were yesterday. When His Eminence came in as Archbishop of America, let's remember we had just been through a period of significant financial turmoil. Significant financial turmoil that was impacting the basic operations of the Archdiocese. Critical upgrades hadn't been and couldn't be done. All of our systems were end of life or near end of life. Failures were beginning to take place weekly, daily. And some systems we just couldn't access anymore because the interface cards had failed. We couldn't get into the phone system to add new extensions or telephone lines because the interface had failed. That's what His Eminence walked into. So what is one of the first things that His Eminence says, Theo? This is priority number one. Let's work together with leadership. They will understand what we need to do. And you answered the call. And so, thanks to you, we eliminated this chronic mess. We virtualized our servers. We've upgraded them. 99.999% uptime. No more failures. We're running, and we're running smoothly. Secondly, you brought our telecommunications up to modern standards. We forklifted everything, thanks to you. Our SLA, our service level agreement for support, we were in the mid-80s because of all the problems. That's horrendous. Within months of your grant, we are 96 to 100% against our SLA. Talk about transformational. Talk about something demonstrable, all because of this investment. And you revolutionized our backups. Let me tell you, we literally were holding the tape backup unit with duct tape because it wouldn't close anymore. I mean, I don't want to over picture it, but that literally was the situation that we ran into. And then what happens? No, we're not going to the Museum of Art, but that's the way it felt like when COVID hit. Now imagine where we were and what you did. We now had to go into COVID continuity mode. If it wasn't for your grant, none of it would have happened, literally. No joke. Leadership 100 saved the basic operations and ministry of the Archdiocese. There is no COVID response without leadership. The leadership-empowered systems were the backbone of how we responded to COVID-19. The new IP telephony system that we put in, piece of cake. This person has to be here, there. We just deploy it out. We have 3-digit extensions. Everybody's communicating. Everything was functional without missing a beat in 4 days. 4 days. Seamless remote access for the Archdiocese staff. And we could focus on what was important, and that was people, and that was the churches, and that was ministering to the clergy and our response. But as you all may know in business, we got to think about security too. And so that's what you also did. What did we then do? Well, we worked with the right experts, Homeland. We worked with our insurance carrier. And we secured and implemented central management of the security of the metropolises and the Archdiocese. We've implemented a 24/7, 365 managed security service on all the computers in the Archdiocese. We've implemented something called protective DNS, a fancy term that basically says when you type in www whatever it is, that it's not some hacked website that's going to steal your credentials. So we have a whole layer of filtering and security that goes through. We also have implemented now 24/7, 365 monitoring of the networks of the metropolises in the Archdiocese. In case something funky is happening, we need to know. We've installed two-factor authentication, that same thing that you're doing when you try to access your bank accounts. All the staff of the Archdiocese have to go through just to access their basic services such as email and their files, to protect your data, to protect you, and to protect me. And we've now standardized, and in the process of standardizing across the country, all the hardware, operating systems, and whitelisting the software. So naturally you're going to say, okay, well, has it worked? Come on, this sounds great. Well, I want to show you an example of what happened. There was an email that came from a certain metropolitan, we'll call him Megapsareas, for the big fish, who wrote to his chancellor and said, "Dear Chancellor, I'm in a meeting. Download the attached file immediately and look at the budget numbers, and please let me know that you received it." Wow. The Chancellor's quaking in his boots. The Metropolitan has asked for something. And I want you to think about something. The email looked really real. The signature was accurate. That means there had been reconnaissance done on the metropolis and the individuals. And that file got through what the metropolis had. So the chancellor then says, yeah, okay, let me download it, let me open it up, and as you might expect, boom, it's weaponized, They open that wonderful little Excel file, and there's nothing there, no budgets, no nothing. Instead, what happens is it starts to download a payload. And it downloads it onto that computer at that metropolis. And now, someone outside has full access to that machine. So here's what they do. I'm going to give you the anatomy of a hack. This is invisible to the chancellor, but back in the operating system level of the computer, they're saying, give me a list of what security software is on the computer. Okay, got it. Next, why don't you give me some system info? Let me know what servers are there, who's trusted, who are the administrators. Okay, got that. Next thing, why don't you tell me all the computers that are on the network? Okay. Next thing, I want you to give me all the IP addresses. I want to see exactly what's going on. All this stuff is executing on the computer while the chancellor is doing his work. Unbeknownst to him, there's someone overseas manipulating and controlling certain things. So here's what's happened thanks to you. We've got our little hero installed on that computer. So what does our little hero do? Our little Captain America communicates out with the good guys. And then it says, uh-oh, we've got some suspicious activity that's going on here. All of a sudden, this computer is starting to ask questions. It's starting to do some discovery of what's out there. What is the security software, what's on the network, and then it starts to run encrypted commands. Uh-oh, so now there's something else that's going on. And then finally, it's starting to trying to evade detection. So we have a whole security playbook thanks to you. So what happens? Bam, that computer gets cut off. That computer is completely isolated except for the good guys. The only person right now who has access to that computer is the good guy who's able to see everything, find it, cut it off, and kill it. In a matter of minutes, we have prevented a malicious attack, quite possibly from a nation state, hitting one of our metropolises. So why is this important? Let me put it into perspective to you in literal dollars and cents. One compromise is 6 figures. 6 figures. Forget that those computers could have been locked with ransomware. That probably wasn't the end game. It's much higher level than that. So, as some of you may know from business, these claims can get extremely expensive. Look at the pipeline hacks. Look at what's happened just in the past 12 months, and the cyber liability landscape has totally changed. Because of your grant and the ability to deploy these advanced security systems, we were able to secure a $1 million cyber security policy for the Archdiocese in this incredibly difficult environment. We wouldn't have gotten it if it wasn't for the leadership grant. We wouldn't have gotten it if it wasn't for His Eminence taking the leadership role and saying, Theo, we're going to bring this to the synod and we're going to get all the metropolises to buy into it. And we did that. Imagine the reputational damage to a metropolis if their computers were to be compromised. And then it's your data in a particular metropolis, your parishioners, your clergy. You've helped secure our systems. And you literally probably paid for the grant in and of itself, this one instance. The next thing you've done is you've helped us bring compliance to the Archdiocese. So we're centralizing and modernizing our IT infrastructure. So what we have the ability to do today, which we couldn't do just a few years ago, is create dashboards that show the compliance level of our systems. Are the hard drives encrypted in case that computer gets lost or stolen? Yep. Is it corporate owned? Is it a personal owned device? What are the policies that we can apply on it? And then we can see if anything is out of policy or in violation, and then we can prevent that device from having access. All of that because of you. The next thing that we're in the process of implementing now is simply just drop shipping computers across the country. We've already got it all program tested that I can take my Mac, or I can order a Mac from Apple directly. I can have it drop shipped to an individual in any metropolis. They can open up that machine. It'll say owned by the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese, new out of the box, enter in their username, their password, and it self-configures everything remotely, just with an internet connection. Installs the software, services, everything that's needed. We've also empowered self-service, so now these computers are coming with self-installable app stores, not the Apple App Store, but a secure Archdiocese app store that gives them the whitelisted apps and securities. And then transforming our collaboration, because all this stuff is great, but if we can't work together as a church, if we can't break down the silos of the metropolises and the ministries, it's all for naught. Because at the end of the day, it's about proclaiming the gospel. It's about transfiguring lives in Christ. And so we're implementing right now the latter parts of Microsoft Office 365. So we are implementing Microsoft's collaboration tool for email, calendaring, video conferencing, chat, cloud file sharing, you name it, to every archdiocesan department, to every metropolis. And it's going to be one integrated system that everybody's going to work together in. Gone is everybody's hodgepodge and way of doing things. There's no more Dropbox, there's no more Google Drive, there's no more Box, there's no more whatever it may be. We are taking aggressive control of our data because data is sacred. And it's your data, and it's my data, it's the church's data. And we're going to protect that data, and we're going to back that data up, and we're going to secure it. And we're going to collaborate using Microsoft Teams. And we're going to bring the best of video conferencing and chat and file sharing and all these other services that metropolises and departments have been trying to piecework together, whether it's Slack, great product, Zoom, great product, Asana, great product, Monday, great product. We're all going to do it within Office 365. And we've already had success with it because we started to use it for the patriarchal visit. We're using it for our clergy laity planning. And for the first time ever, all of the metropolises can gain central access to resources through our central team site that we're building. Imagine that. Where is something? Oh, just go to the team site and you can download it and find it. So what's our deliverable? What's our deliverable? Archdiocese-wide collaboration for better teamwork. It's all about better teamwork. Breaking down the silos that may exist through distance, through technology. And we're going to develop better knowledge workers. Isn't that important? Better knowledge workers. So a single set of tools that we're training the staff on, so no matter where they are in the archdiocese, they know how to use it. And we're going to drive to eliminate shadow IT and all this other stuff that people are trying to do to compensate. So in summary, it all began in 1994. This grant that you gave us continued an established legacy of Leadership 100 pioneering the digital transformation. And I think I skipped over the slide, but I will tell you in terms of dollars and cents, we've cut our licensing costs 50%. 50% reduction in licensing costs because of this digital transformation that you've empowered us to do. So it's not just technological great stuff, it's fiscal responsibility. You're helping us modernize the way the Archdiocese works. You're empowering our digital transformation, as I said, enhancing our collaboration, securing our future, and you're introducing the controls and systems we need for compliance. And this is a scriptural value. Because if we look at the parable of the talents that Christ tells us, what you, as members of leadership, and what the grant committee expects we as archdiocesan staff and departments is to be held to a high standard so that these grants are bearing fruit. And I tell you, they are bearing fruit today. And as hopefully you've seen, they bear even more fruit over time. So what we are able to return is not tenfold, but 100-fold of what we've been giving. And then, just some thanks. Your Eminence, I remember that moment in your office where you said, this is a priority. Without you, none of this happens. Your unwavering support of these initiatives, of the IT department, of me, and everything, I have nothing but thank you to say, and the church owes you an incredible debt. Thank you so much. Senator Paulette and RJ, you've been among the biggest champions. Thank you. To the Leadership Grant Committee and to all of you, thank you for the legacy that you've done. Mr. Katros, we talked about it earlier. I hope that you're pleased to see what has happened here today. The eparchial synod members who have supported this, our Chancellor, Father Andreas, Elaine Allen has just been an incredible driving force. Her support is so much appreciated. And then I want to acknowledge one of your members, Leon Andrus, who served as my technology chair. And through his blood, sweat, and tears with me, we went through this process and submitted the grant. And now my current chair, the former CTO of the United States, Mike Kratsios. You can only succeed in life when you have an incredible team behind you. And I tell you, starting from the top with His Eminence, the team at the Archdiocese is fabulous, and I am so excited to be here. And I want to thank you, Leadership 100, from the bottom of my heart for being such great catalysts for change.